Gaslighting is not the same as lying, and understanding the difference between the two is key. Spirit gets real specific and helps us break it down.
All right, Spirit. What exactly is gaslighting? I know what the internet uses it for, but what is it really? How do you know if it's happening? And what do you do about it? Let's start with, I guess, a definition. We have the Three of Pentacles, which is about the beginning process of a long-term earthly project, like an apprentice sort of situation. They're putting in the work, but they've got a lot of mistakes that they're still making. We have the Seven of Wands in reverse, which in this deck, the Seven of Wands is about the falling apart of a friendship or a friend group. It's a whole bunch of adventurers that are kind of getting disillusioned with their quest, but it's in reverse. And we have the Wheel of Fortune in reverse, which is about the big life lessons, the big patterns that keep repeating over and over because, you know, that is what our soul is here to learn, and it needs to be reinforced. So it's just going to keep happening. But anyway, so that's in reverse. So the internet calls gaslighting basically just lying, right? That if you're not being completely honest, regardless of your intention, that you are gaslighting. And just fundamentally, that's incorrect. In a clinical setting, that's just not what gaslighting is. So, according to Spirit, gaslighting is someone maintaining the least amount of effort to progress forward without letting the delusions fall apart. The delusions are there, but they will do whatever they have to prevent that from becoming undeniable. Because it's all about maintaining where you are now, not moving forward, not looking too closely at it and not learning from it. Just staying exactly where you are and exactly how you're feeling. And then because the cards didn't so much give this, I'm going to add in on a clinical setting. I am not a licensed professional, please don't mistake that, but I have gone to school, done a lot of research, all the things. So gaslighting is very intentional. It is someone who understands reality. They understand what the truth is, and they just, we'll get into the why later, I guess, because I don't really have words for it, but it's very much on purpose. Like, the term comes from a movie. I don't remember the name of the movie, but in order to make his wife think she was crazy, he would turn up the gas lights, or turn them down or something to that effect. And when she would mention it, he would specifically say, no, that's not happening, as he would continually adjust it. That is gaslighting. That is very intentional, very much, I know you see the truth, and I'm just going to tell you you're wrong. And it's not lying, because lying is with the intention of getting yourself out of trouble. Gaslighting is with the intention of keeping you exactly where you are. No one, it's not about trouble or consequence. It's just keeping you confused, keeping you stuck, so that you're not looking at anything. All right, so now let's get back to the why. We have the Universe in reverse, which is the World card in this deck. And the Nine of Cups, which in this deck is about doing the emotional healing journey before that final abundance comes in. So they do it because they know what they're doing is fucked up. They know what they're doing is wrong. They know that it is impeding all of the healthy mechanics of a relationship, whether that's a romantic one, a platonic one, a family one, whatever, doesn't matter. They know that what they're doing is unhealthy. They know that what they're doing is unhealthy for you, but they're getting something out of it. Something that I'm not convinced that I can personally understand because I don't have that personality type. I was groomed by that personality type, so I am more used to the perspective of the receiving end, more than I am the giving end. So what I can say is that these personality types come from childhood trauma. They were stunted at a very young age, somewhere around the age of 10, give or take 5 years. So these people think at the age they were stunted. So let's assume they were stunted at the age of 8. 8-year-olds lie. Why do 8-year-olds lie? All sorts of reasons. They want to avoid trouble. They think it's funny. They, it was just a thing to do. Like, they don't always have reasons. Same thing here. If they got stunted at that age, then they're going to use those same tactics. They are going to lie because it's fun, or because they like the reaction they get out of you, or it makes them feel superior, or, again, it's really not about avoiding trouble because that is lying. The gaslighting is just serving some sadistic purpose for this person to keep you feeling crazy, even though you can see with your own 2 eyes what the truth is, and you have the proof, but they're still denying it. Okay. How do you know if you're being gaslit? How does one know if they're being gaslit? How does one know? Nothing makes sense. You can't get a straight answer. And they're doing it with authority. So we have the Priestess in reverse, the Emperor in reverse. They're both pretty self-explanatory here. But your intuition is spot on. Your reasoning is spot on. And they are, with authority, insisting that it's not. It's not the same as, something flimsy made up in the moment. That's a lie. This is constant, repeated effort to tell you your perception is incorrect, because their perception is incorrect, and they get told that all the time. So they want you to feel the way they feel. They want you to feel that your perception of reality is misaligned with actual reality, because that's how their perception of reality is misaligned with actual reality. And they just want you to feel what they feel. You already know when you're being gaslit. That's the Ace of Pentacles. You have everything you need to know these things. You've seen red flags before. You trust yourself. You know you're smart. You know your memory. You know all of the things about yourself. And when you start doubting that, that's when you know that there's at least a potential that you're being gaslit. You definitely need to look again. Trust your instincts. We have the Seven of Swords in reverse. Don't allow them to steal your reality. Don't allow them to steal your sanity. If you know the truth and they are insistent that it's wrong, then disengage. That is the best advice here, is disengage, because you cannot win against someone who will not play with the same deck of cards you're playing with. And that's not your problem. That's not something you need to be worried about, something you need to fix. You need to worry about you. And anyone who is doing this to you on purpose, despite your evidence, has nefarious plans, or at the very least cannot be trusted with your heart and your energy, and certainly not your projects. So what do they do, Spirit? What's the advice here? Talk to them. It's the Sun. Like I said, you are strong and confident and powerful, and you are so far above this. Like, when it does get you, the worst part about it is that you're disappointed in yourself for being gotten. So when it happens, just take it to them. Hey, I know this thing happened. And regardless of if they're lying or gaslighting, if they can't take that and say, I hadn't thought about it that way, or anything to that effect, they don't even need to apologize. They just need to recognize that their reality is being challenged and be willing to look a little closely at it the way you do, or even a modicum of what you do. But anyway, if they aren't willing to do that, then that tells you there's a whole lot more going on behind the scenes that they are trying desperately not to show you. So if you know something and someone is insistent that it's incorrect, at the very least, the two of you don't align. And you need your distance. You need to cut paths, at least for the time being, to see if the two of you realign. And if you do, they'll come back. If they were gaslighting, they won't, because that's too much work. If someone is willing to do the gaslighting, they're not willing to put in the work of challenging someone who respects themselves to maintain their boundaries. And it's okay to let people go no matter what they mean to you, no matter what relationship they are to you. If they're a family member, if they're an integral part of your social dynamic, you will find that if you cut them out, other people are going to start asking why, and then they're going to start following suit. They're going to start saying, I hadn't noticed this before. So I think you'll be surprised at what exactly you trigger when you start setting boundaries and you allow people to react the way that they're naturally going to react. And it feels like that's all I've got for you. So I will see you in the next one.